Hello, church. For those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Stephanie. I really hope that you're experiencing the depth of God's love today as you watch this service. We have been through so much in our country and in our world in just these first 7 months of 2020, haven't we? From coronavirus to racism, we can see the upheaval and the unrest all around us. And names like Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd have become really familiar to us. And I don't know about you, but I see that their deaths have had an impact on our country and definitely in my own heart. And perhaps like me, you might have seen posts on social media or read articles about their deaths, and it's kind of left you wondering, what do I do? Or maybe even feeling stuck in this conversation. As I have been on a journey of changing the way I think about racism, there are three postures that have really helped me as I seek the Lord and take part in what I think are some really important conversations. And so I just wanted to share my experiences with you. The first posture that I think is so important is that of lament. Webster's dictionary defines lament as the often demonstrative expression of sorrow, mourning, or regret. And I don't know about you, but I absolutely hate grief. I think it's emotionally and physically just painful, and it's just so exhausting. But the reality is it's also biblical. It's also just a reality of our lives and our world. And we see that lament is all throughout God's story. I work for Cru, which is a campus ministry, one of the campus ministries at OSU. And as a minister of the gospel, God has really called me to mourn with those who mourn and to weep with those who weep. That's something that he's calling me to do. And as tempting as it often is for me to want to like ignore the pain that I see or to want to even just try to fix it, I think what's more important in those times is to just sit alongside someone who is hurting and lament with them. The second posture that I think is really important is that of listening. Listening is another huge part of what I do on campus with students. And for me, listening to the stories of people who aren't like me, who don't look like me, who haven't had my experiences, that's really crucial for me on this journey of understanding racism. And often when I hear stories of injustice toward people of color, I find myself wanting to explain the behavior that they experienced, or I want to wait for more information before I make a judgment. But I'm learning that instead of doing that, it's important and builds trust to just listen and to believe the experiences of people of color. I may not be able to relate to their situation, and I may never know all the details, but that doesn't mean that their story isn't true and their experiences aren't real. And so I think listening is such an important posture for us to take as we have this conversation. And then finally, the third posture that's been really crucial for me is learning. As I lament and I listen to others, I have discovered that I just don't know the full breadth of the history of racism and injustice in our country. I just don't know enough. And so recognizing this has made me re-examine our history. It's made me read books by people who look different than me, from authors who are different than I am. It's made me follow people on social media who have different experiences than I do. And ultimately, it's really challenged me to educate myself, which I think is so important and so valuable on this journey. To really find true understanding is to seek out education. And, I've heard it said that really growing toward racial restoration and reconciliation is more like a marathon than a sprint. And I really think that is so incredibly true, and so important for us to remember that this is a long-term journey that we're on. And it's going to take a lot of learning and unlearning on our parts. And I want to just close with something that the prophet Micah said in Micah 6:8. And he says this: He has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. These words really encourage me, and they challenge me to continue in these postures of lament, listening, and learning as I seek the good of all of God's people. And so thanks for letting me share with you today, and I hope you have a great day.